And I'm wondering how much the pandemic has helped you, in a weird way to say helped, but has
My
created...
dating life? It's
We're not going there. We don't have enough time. What I'm wondering is, in sort of strange ways, is there any silver linings as you're thinking about developing, this other form of communication via podcast on your own, even though you're part of this large podcast network, with Richard, that audience framework, I should say.
Yeah.
And then you're writing music, you're doing your own spiritual practice or meditative practice, whatever it might be. How's the pandemic, being a mom and all this other stuff, has it created unexpected pockets of focus for you that you would not necessarily be able to do if this hadn't arrested the world and slowed it down?
I think we can all look at this time and find something like that, Whenever business as usual is brought to a halt, there is always creative opportunity and potential. And I think in my own life, this tenure of a forced monasticism experience, I didn't really sign up for, but there it was. I was bouncing between two radically different experiences of quarantine and of the pandemic. On the one hand, I would have a week without my kids where I was completely alone, where I would sit on a stairwell and just lean my head up against the wall to just, feel what it felt like to be held, because it's just oh God. And then also, being a single parent. So it was this whiplash between, this really intense, homeschooling and the works, and then being completely alone. But I think the opportunity for all of us, whenever we find ourselves in these states of complete stop, is to look inward and to do a lot of healing work, to have the courage to look at the unbeliefs that we have about ourselves and each other, and then to begin to make room for them to come up and out. And I think for so many of us, we've had this experience where all of a sudden we have time. I mean, imagine that. We're not running around like crazy like we used to.
Right.
And I hope that's a lesson that we'll bring into the future as a society. Americans, we're such workaholics. We're obsessed with this drive to be busy, but that's not the same thing as being creative.
Yeah.
So during this time, I think because of all of the healing work and meditation and being alone and then being with the kids, I did find myself in a place of a new kind of creative swell.
Right.
And started working on a new album over the summer, and have been busy at that, recording and working with a new producer now. And we're sending each other files back and forth like all the musicians are doing these days.
Yeah.
And then, I found myself really hungry to have these types of conversations about unknowing, about being willing to let go of the mind's need for certainty and drop in lower into a more embodied and spacious way of, practicing creativity and love.
The Full Exposure Podcast is brought to you by Metro Health, University of Michigan Health, and Dr. Peter Hahn, in appreciation of the creative and artistic visionaries who enrich our lives through cultural connections.